There we go. We got Charisma. Charisma in the house.
Hello everyone. Thank you for
Good
having
morning.
me.
Yeah, of course. Congratulations on so many pieces in your collection selling.
Thank you. It's amazing.
Um, how is your day going? It's like 5 p.m. your time?
Yeah, it's 5 p.m. and it's doing great. Uh, just celebrating throwing beads here and there for my friends and having a lovely time. I'm so glad you invited me, and I'm so glad the collection got your attention. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we love your work so much. It's really interesting to see. Should we just get into it? I'd love to hear more about your work. And I
Yeah.
feel like there's so many listeners in here. I'm sure they want to hear about it too. Um, I guess, can you tell us a little bit about your creative background?
Yeah. It's funny because I started my digital path, I'd say, by doing YouTube thumbnails for YouTubers, Italian YouTubers back in 2015, I think. And shortly after, I got interested in doing cover art for singers and cinema and stuff. And I've been contacted by the biggest gallery in Italy. So in the early 2019, I started exhibiting my personal works in Europe. I did a few in Innsbruck, in Austria, then France, Monte Carlo, and Budapest, and of course Milan. It's really close to where I live right now. And that's it. I've been doing digital art for a long time now, and recently started doing traditionals as well.
Um, can you tell us about how you're making the work that you're doing? Like what mediums you're working in? Like it looks like sort of charcoal and
Yeah.
maybe painting, and I'm
Yeah, actually, even in the collection, I've decided to create works in different mediums. I was gonna include photography as well, but didn't have enough time to properly do some nice works. And basically, my favorite mediums when I work in traditional is acrylic, but I always start with charcoal and some kind of graphite or crayons, and this is where my works fit the most because of the contrast you can create easily with some charcoal. And yeah, basically, um, I've been loving doing traditional, even abstract works by mixing even other mediums. Like I did a bunch of pieces with oil pastels, um, charcoals, and acrylic, mixing them all together, and I like the outcome really.
how did you I guess how did you get into working in like a mixed medium sort of way? And then I'm also curious your thoughts about because you're creating these works in such a physical way,
Hmm.
um, like
Yeah,
how do you feel about them being digitized?
yeah. As I said, I started doing digital, and at this point, I felt like I wasn't really able to convey all the emotions I wanted to. Because when you create digital, you have your Wacom tablet on your legs, and you're just there. You're sitting there still. And at one point, I felt like I was needed, like I really needed to move my body to create. So I needed to stand and move my arms, move my shoulders, move my fingers around the brushes, the charcoals, and stuff. That's why also I started creating more abstract works because I was feeling I needed to. I had things to let go, and it wasn't really possible in a digital way. And even if it's possible to create emotional pieces in a digital way. Absolutely. I did that for the past few years, and it's nice. Uh, but I was at a point that I needed to try new things because I was really bored. And that's how I started doing this kind of physical works.
And then, I mean, I'd love to hear more actually. You talk about sort of the feelings behind the works because they're so sort of, I don't know if I'm projecting, but they look so emotive, you
Yeah,
know? And I'm like, I'd love to hear more about that.
yeah. I feel like there's some kind of stigma for people that try to being emotional. And I felt that really in the past because I wasn't really able to talk about my problems with my family, with my closest friends as well, not even with my parents. And what I did is started to recycle my pain. Uh, the only way possible was to create something new out of it, because I spent a lot of time just holding my pain, and I was really in a bad situation mentally and physically about that. When I started to let things go, I noticed I was um, not free, but I was able to tell people my feelings, and with words, it wasn't really possible for me at the time.
Have you always like felt that way about making art? Do you feel like that's particularly true with Cantato collection or?
Uh, Yes, in a way, because I wasn't really a creative when I was younger, but always related with any form of art. Music was the main one, even cinema. Uh, I have a lot of favorite artists in there, and yeah, Contatto definitely helped me giving more range and give more possibilities to my work. I had that in mind. Even the name of the collection means that because contatto means contact, touch in Italian, and it was the first time that I was touching brushes, and charcoals. I mean, not really because I was doing some sketches here and there, but I started to take it that seriously and investing really my everything into that.
That's incredible to hear that cantato is just like the additional context about what that word means in Italian, and also that you know, this body of work is maybe the first that you've maybe made intentionally using new mediums.
Yeah, with different mediums, yes, absolutely. I get a few, actually one collection split in three that dropped on Nifty. I dropped the two volumes. Um, Still need to drop the last one, and it was intentional because the name of it, it's the way I feel things. It's we bleed every color, and that's a theme as well. Like Contatto, there are two projects I had in mind, and uh, I'm so glad I was able to work on them properly, and I'm so glad people are feeling that.
Yeah, I feel like the emotion in the work is really powerful, and you can definitely sense it just like through looking at the work. Earlier, you had mentioned just artists and movies, music that you're inspired by. One of my favorite things is always hearing artists talk about like what inspires them, and I'm curious about sort of like what influences you.
Yeah, most of my inspiration come from books, that's for sure. I read a lot, and I love people like Schopenhauer or Kafka or Kierkegaard. A lot of those people definitely changed my approach to how I view things, and movies helped me as well, especially a director. His name is Aronofsky. You probably know about. Um, Definitely him. Then I listen to a lot of music. The very second I wake up in the morning, I put on my headphones and I start listening to music. And I listen to every kind of music. Depends also on my mood, on what I have to do, and yeah. Uh, I've been inspired by post-hardcore music, like bands, like Pierce the Veil, Get Scared, this kind of bands. Really, I'd say kind of emo music, but um, maybe I love that a lot because it's not my language and it doesn't sound weird to hear some kind of things. It may sometimes I hear that music and I feel like it's so romantic. So definitely being inspired by that. And I think that's it. Uh, yeah, movies, a lot of movies in general. I suggest everyone to watch Evangelion if they haven't. Definitely changed my life, especially because Evangelion introduced me to Schopenhauer because of some kind of dilemmas they threw in. So, yes.
Hell yeah. Um, you were saying how like you wake up in the morning and you just start listening to music, and I wonder, like what are you listening to when you're creating music? Or sorry, creating art? Is that sort like what do you do to put yourself in like creative art making mode? And I guess generally, like what is your art practice like? Like, do you have a schedule for yourself? Do you wait until inspiration strikes?
Mhm. I always say that I feel like that's not my job. I just practice my dedication, and so that's why I never have a schedule for it. I just do art when I want to, and pretty much I always want to do that. So I just put my headphones on, and I feel like I'm disconnected from the reality. Um, I just listen to music, and in not a particular way. Like there's no particular sounds that inspire me. When I start creating, I feel like I'm not even listening to music anymore. I just get lost in the process, and what I do basically it depends on what I want to create. Lately, I wanted to express more movement in my art, so I'm doing abstract works and I work on some kind of sketches by trying to following a scheme that I have in my head. And if I want to do a portrait, it's different because I start the portrait by drawing an eye, and how the eye comes out, it's how I feel. Because if I feel sad, most of the time the high will be sad, and so the pieces will be this way. If I feel happy, I will draw an eye and it will be happy. So I let that eye decide where the piece should go. And while with abstract art is kind of similar, but with colors. I do that with colors. Depends on my mood. I've read a couple of books from Kandinsky, and he explains very well how color works and how can we imagine that, comparing them to our feelings. So when I create abstract, I do that, and when I do portrait, I just start with an eye.
So when we're looking at your works, we can tell based on the eye that that's like that influence the rest of the piece. And then does the mood of the eye also influence the color in sort of the way you were speaking
Yes,
about how amazing.
yes,
And then what can you I mean, I'd love to know more about that. Can you explain what
yeah.
the different moods of the different colors are for you?
Yeah, when I do portraits, especially the couple ones I did physically, I just used black, white mixed with water as well to create some kind of bluish, really light bluish, and that's because I wanted people to focus on the eye, uh, because this is how we are projected. Like we always try to find an eye when we look at a face. So even when I work in digital, I tend to do not use too many colors because you're gonna lose the focus. I want to be sure that you are looking at what I want you to look at. So I'm not really using a lot of colors in portraits because I focus more in the eye because this is what I'm trying to tell you. While working abstract, it depends on the movement. A circular movement sometimes needs some kind of deep color like blue because you feel like you're diving into that color, while shapes like a triangle needs different colors, like more vibrant colors like yellow and red, this kind of colors. So it depends on the movement that the piece has, but most of the time I really start with some kind of red because this is how I feel. And when I start creating abstract, I just feel some kind of rage always. That's why I want to move my I want to do wide movements with my arms, fingers, and shoulders. So I just start with some or black charcoals or some oil pastel in red, and I try. You can overlap the colors, even in acrylic. Like you can always go over those colors. So it really depends on a lot of things. I stopped thinking about that because it's so natural to me right now.
Totally, yeah, like your sense of color probably just comes second nature.
Yeah,
Um, I'm curious about, so because the works that you're making are physical, I'm curious how you ended up in NFTs. And I guess your thoughts on turning physical objects or things that exist physically into
yeah.
digital works.
Okay, when I found out about NFTs, I was doing digital works and stuff, like no physical, no traditional works. So everything was digital, and it was kind of easy for me to jump on the space. And even when I did a bunch of exhibitions in the past, I just printed out on canvas the pieces that I wanted to exhibit and frame them and ship them, and they were hanged along the others. So nothing really different when it comes to exhibiting in a gallery. I found about some difficulties recently because of my physical works. I needed a scanner, and I had a camera as well. And there are different ways to properly scan your works when physical, and you can't really tell that you did a photos or stuff if you balance the white as well. Like there are different ways to do so. Wasn't really a struggle for me because when I started joining the space, everything was digital for me. So I had no problem with that.
Yeah, art documentation is like no joke. Like it's so hard to do. Can you tell us about, I guess, I'd like to know more about, I guess, your journey within Web3. Um, like
Yeah.
how did you learn about it? How did like what initially interested you about it? You said you were initially already making digital artwork, so the transition seemed easy for you.
Yeah. Um, Mm, Probably I started searching for more ways to let people connect with my art because, as I said, I've been in a bunch of exhibitions, and my feelings were so bad about it because I was looking at people and they really spent few seconds to look at your piece that you worked on for days or months or weeks, and to reach that level you worked years. And I wasn't really feeling okay to exhibit my art, especially at that beginning. So I was searching for a way to properly feel part of something because I was just there uh, with a lot of scavengers around me because what I always say is that art galleries now are scavengers. I can say that clearly, and I have no doubt about it. There are few exceptions for sure, but my experience was terrible. And the gallery that used it to represent me was the biggest one in Italy. So um, I don't know about the others, but situation might be the same. So I, I I started I stopped posting my art on Instagram because I was going nowhere with that, and I felt like Twitter was what I needed because I was able to connect to people, and it was easiest to share like with no crops, and I loved it. So I started connecting with people that were creating digital works, and I noticed that people were started selling their works in a digital way with NFTs. So I was interested, and by following a few marketplaces, I connected with artists that are in listening as well, like Kaya and Stax, Bear, and other beautiful people. So yeah, that's how I found out about NFTs, basically.
And then did somebody sort of like teach you how to like make a wallet and, get Ethereum and, like how to.
Uh, Yeah, there's a guy. Its name is Odious. You probably know about him, and he's the guy that reached out to me, even if it was already big in the platform on Twitter. I mean, we were starting both in the NFT space, but I remember I had something like 12 followers or something, and we started talking and sharing each other our artworks, and we had beautiful talks. And then he started explaining to me how to move properly in the space, because I was too, I'd say, too blind, uh, because I always move in an opposite way. I started doing that, like promoting my art by printing my works and going into galleries and promoting them to them, instead of publishing my works on social media. So I wasn't really able to properly promote my works in there. I mean, in here on Twitter or in social media in general. So definitely Audius helped me and changed my life for sure.
Yeah, can you talk more about sort of like what you learned about how to navigate things? I feel like there are so many artists who sort of want to learn about how to sort of promote their work, and I'm curious about, I guess,
Yeah,
what you think has worked best for you.
uh, just keep doing me. That's what worked for me. Um, I'm always so focused on my craft, and that's in the studio is where I spend most of the time. So I wouldn't really be able to reach out to every single person in the space and connect with them. I'd rather let them connect with my art. So I see a lot of people struggling because they are trying to get some kind of attention uh, by shilling or keep commenting under collectors' post or this kind of things doesn't really work. Collectors are smart. They know what they are searching for, and they need consistency. They need a unique style, and that's what you should do. That you should never forget why you started creating. You did started to be under a comment section 24/7. So that's how I think people will find success. Like just keep doing you, post your art, interact with the people that you love, not with the one that you think should bring you some kind of bonus or some kind of money. It doesn't work like that. It will never work like that. And if you move like that in this way, people will notice that you are doing that for a small kind of attention. And I don't know how it can really help you. So what I can suggest is just keep doing you, keep creating, keep sharing, and interact with the people that you truly care about.
Yeah, I think that's really great and honest and real advice. And I wanted to, this leads me to asking something that I had been thinking about is, I guess, how did you cultivate sort of the community that you have? It seems like you found, a space with other artists that you like and are sort of friends with, many of whom are in this Twitter space, it sounds like. And I'm just
Mhm.
curious, like, how did you go about navigating and creating relationships?
Uh, Even the people that are listening to that right now, I know a bunch of them are really genuine people, and I never felt some kind of difficulty connecting with them because we were in here just for the heart. Of course, we needed to hit somehow, so NFTs is the way we sell our works, but we are genuinely interested in each other's works and in art in general. That's why we work as a little community by our own. Um, just how we support each other, and I feel like people started interacting with me because I was genuine about my intentions, and my intentions were creating, get better, and that's it. I tweeted that yesterday, and I said, no drama, no bullshit, just art. That's what you should do, and that's what makes me happy personally. So, yeah.
Are there any, I guess, artists in this space that you find particularly inspiring that you want to like shout out?
Yeah, all of my friends in there. There is Foki, Hans, Stax, Bear, K, Odds, Serp, Null, Dustin, Bad, Milan, a lot of them. They are all unique. Um, I feel like I'm at the point, and they are at the point where I don't really need to read their names when I scroll through the timeline because their style is so unique and they develop a beautiful style and they they really work really, really hard every day. They show up every day. I see them and I support them the way I can. I I really try to do that. And yeah.
That's amazing. How how do you like it sounds like y'all are very supportive of each other and I'm curious if like um I don't know how to like ask this in like a normal way, but it's like like in what ways are you able to support each other and like how do you
Yeah.
create community in like a digital space and like have have any of you ever met up in person? Like do you live remotely near each other to
Yeah,
like
I know what you mean. When we started talking, it was the like our first step in the NFT space. So we didn't have any money to support each other, and so we just shared our works with each other in a group chat. We were talking about how to move properly in the space and basically that. But we were enjoying our time. Now things are different because we have some money to invest in artists and we can change literally uh, uh, people path by just throwing a bid. Maybe when people feel like they are doing in a wrong direction, just a single bid can change completely their approach and start opening again. So we started supporting each other even monetary in a monetary way, but some of them are really too expensive right now. So um, we are going back to the traditional way of keep sharing our works, but because a lot of us are getting really expensive at the moment.
yeah, it's amazing to be able to like support your friends by like purchasing their work and I'm wondering like if when you were working in a more traditional gallery way, if you had any sort of relationship with the collectors of your works and what kind of relationships you have with the people who collect your NFT works and how those like may be similar or different.
Um, the truth is that when I was exhibiting in a traditional way, I barely made any sales. Um, I did that for a couple of years, and maybe I sold 3 pieces, and that wasn't enough for me to live it this way. So I didn't have any contact with the collectors. Maybe just a few, a little small conversations when they were interested in a piece, and now it's a completely different story because I feel like it's easier for collectors to find out artists because they don't have to move and search in a gallery or in an exhibition. So it just take a few minutes to write a message and ask more about my works, and I'm always happy to share my works with them. So I always had beautiful conversation with my collectors, even not art related, like in general. Um, most of the time they are bigger than me, so I always learn something from them. That's a different story. That's yeah, I feel like this space allowed me to even get in, I mean, having conversation with people interested in my art. Before it was like just a nice piece and never seeing this that people again. Now it's different.
Do you feel like your collectors are supportive of, I guess, your artistic career in different ways? Like, do you feel like they continue to support your work, and like, in what way do they continue to support you?
Yes, they do. Um, uh, it's obvious because um, I don't I don't take any of the money I earn for granted. Like people are working for them. They are really sweating for earn this kind of money. So whenever I receive the bid, I tend to reach out to the collector and thank them for minutes straight, because I don't take that for granted at all. And they really care because they show interest, and it was more obvious when I started because there were just a few, and these few are still interacting with me. I see a lot of them sending me messages about how it's going, how it's my path, how do I feel, and these are collectors that started collecting me way back. So I feel like they really care, and of course, might be someone that uh, just wants or needed to flip, and that's okay. That's part of the space. But most of them, they really care about me, and I care about them as well.
Yeah, I think what's really amazing about, I guess, the world of NFTs is being able to develop this sort of personal relationship with your collectors, and like,
Mhm.
I don't know, how those develop into sort of meaningful relationships. And it's nice to know that somebody is like cheering for you.
Yes, it's a beautiful feeling. It doesn't affect my works anyway, because I tend to share with people that are really close to me my finished piece before I share them with my audience, and it doesn't affect, but it completely changed the way for me to live because now I'm living with my art, and that's a different, completely story. That's why I say that I don't take any of the beat for granted. Uh, yeah.
I'm curious how, not to like pivot, but I'm curious how you decide how to separate or create sort of different collections and bodies of work. Like in your mind, how do you like
Mhm.
differentiate and go about building like
Uh,
a collection?
yeah, I feel like we live period in a chronological way, of course. So I know how I'm feeling right now, and if I am really, really inspired, I can create a lot of pieces, even start three in a day and finish them the day after. It depends, of course, on the work and on the amount of details I think it needs and stuff. So I can clearly see my phases, like how I felt when I created the Contatto, when I created the draft for Nifty, how I felt when I started minting on Super Rare. I remember that, and I see them as phases of my um, like developing my style and my person as well, because I feel completely different from when I started working on Contatto, completely different. So I can easily say that I might do another collection and soon. I mean, doesn't mean I will, but I feel like I'm entering another period of my life.
Um, I mean, I don't know if you have like more to say about that or not, but I guess what do you think this new period of your life is, and like what you think? might influence what that artwork looks like. It sounds like you're thinking about maybe, and I'm just like, what's the alpha? We want to know what comes next for Charisma.
Um, the truth is that Contatto, I created that because I wanted to value more my abstract pieces. I wanted more people to see them. And that's why you can see in the collection I priced them. I priced my portraits work that usually sold for more than my abstract pieces. I listed them for a small amount, like not small amount, but cheaper. Um, I wanted to give a little spotlight to my abstract works, and now that it worked, like I feel comfortable about sharing my abstract works because it's not easy because I feel like it's the emancipation of my mind. And when I look back at the abstract work I did like a month ago, I don't feel this way anymore. So I'd completely changed the pieces. And now that I feel comfortable, I'm okay with doing abstract pieces. Um, I can definitely create more in a different way. I'm trying a lot of things. I'm experimenting a lot. So what's coming is definitely a new approach for my art. Like I'd say not an approach, but a different extensions of me.
Have you always felt comfortable with this kind of like experimentation? It seems like you've sort of always been multimedia, but I'm wondering if like
Yeah, yeah, I always did. I mean, what can go? I mean, there's nothing that can go wrong. I can just delete the piece or I don't know, trash the paper. But if I don't try, that's a problem. Most of my pieces are started with a little sketch that I haven't trashed, and then I work on the idea, and yeah, I feel comfortable because I decide what I can create with my hands, and I always try to experiment. So there's no struggle for me. Not that, but with abstract was completely different because it's really, really tough to find a unique style without copying or um, bringing too much of other people in your works, especially for people that read a lot. As I said, I really spend a lot of hours daily reading, and I feel like I'm getting some kind of influence here and there, and and when you create, it's kind of tough to separate the two things.
do you feel like that's something that you spend a lot of time thinking about? Like, do you ever make something and just go, oh no, that doesn't feel like charisma, that feels like somebody else? And how important is like, because I know some
Yeah.
people who are like, oh, originality is dead. Like, you can never be original. And some people, I think, approach art making with the intention of creating something like totally
hmm
new.
hmm yeah, I felt this way, and it's a nice lesson because I remember working on portraits, and I was always trying to add new things to the piece. Like I was like, when it's done, like when it's finished, I wasn't really able to tell that. And what I learned is when you start asking yourself this question, the piece is already finished. Like when you start pondering the idea of adding new objects or brushstrokes or something, you shouldn't, because the piece is already done. Like if you start saying, I don't know if it's done or not, it is. So that's when I felt like I felt like I was looking at my piece and saying, yeah, that's charisma.
That's amazing. Yeah, I feel like I don't know, sometimes you can keep adding something to a piece that you're working on. And I feel like for me, it can be hard to know like when is something like done.
hmm Yeah,
It's
try
yeah.
to ask yourself this question, and you will see. Maybe it's finished, but just for that day. You started the piece, you don't know where it's going. Just keep that. Don't say it's finished or trash that. Just wait a couple of days. If you are still asking this question, the piece is finished. If you stopped asking that question, you will probably start working more on the piece, and that's resolve your problem.
Um, Amazing. I think that's like really good advice. I guess, I mean, that was most of the questions that I had for you. I feel like we've covered so much talking about like inspirations, favorite artists, like, um,
Mhm.
books that you read, how you find community, relationships with collectors. I'm wondering if there's like anything you really wanted to talk about that you feel like maybe I didn't ask you about.
Uh, Not really. I said a couple of advice here and there. I really care about the people that, especially my friends that are listening. Um, but that's more towards people that are struggling getting attention. I'd say that again, just keep doing you, love your craft, and keep sharing that. Eventually, people will like that. If you're pure and genuine with your intentions, people will notice and they will be super ready to invest their money for you. But you must be clear with your intentions. That's for sure. That's how you're gonna win.
That's a really great advice that I feel like really anybody at any stage in their life should hear. Um, Thank you so much
No,
for taking the time to talk with me.
absolutely. Thank you for having me and being so kind. Um, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course, we love your work so much.
Yeah, I remember receiving the email, and I was like, "No, that's some kind of scam," or because I received a lot of them recently,
hmm
and when I noticed that the real foundation Twitter messaged me, I was so honored to be in there because, like from the very first messages, you seems like very interested in my works, so it makes me so happy.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, just you were doing you and we noticed. And I feel like so many other people have noticed, like your collectors have noticed, and we're really excited to see what else you end up doing.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And thank you everyone that uh, passed by. I mean, that listened to this space. I'm so sorry if my English is not perfect. I'm Italian and I really need to train more and do spaces.
No,
And
your English is great. I like
okay.
truly like I commend you for doing a conversation, like a public speaking conversation in a language that is not your native tongue. You're doing great. You're doing great, Charisma. Don't.
Okay. Thank you. So thank you so much for your time, everyone, and thank you for hearing me talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Goodbye.